Hello, everybody, and welcome to another live discussion. This is a special one, as they all are, but this one maybe a little bit more special. My name is Nemer of Mundo Albiceleste.com. I'm joined by Osvaldo Godoy of Mundo Albiceleste.com. We are here to talk about, to preview Argentina versus Colombia in the 2024 Copa America final. It's in about 24 hours. It's in Miami. We have a lively crowd tonight. Let's get to it. As always, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We always get people from all around the world. And let's get to you, Osvaldo. How is everything? How are you?
I'm very good. I'm extremely excited and nervous about tomorrow's game. I'm already, the day previous to the match is where you start to feel that it's getting closer. And although we are confident about this team, we just listened to the press conference of Scaloni and Emi Martinez. They are confident too, a good confidence. You know what I mean? But as the closer you get to the match, you start to feel how close the match is, and you start getting nervous.
Yeah, I'm getting in that nervous phase. I've been like that since this morning. I woke up and the first thing I thought about was it's the Copa America tomorrow. Not today, it's tomorrow. And it started just all going through my head. I'm in the same boat as you. Let's get to the comments, see how everyone is doing and what everyone is up to. Rian and Rihanna, all the way from Nepal. Thank you for joining us. As always, thank you very, very much. We have Suraj from, excuse me, let's bring this back up. Suraj from Dallas. Amazing. George, I know if I'm not mistaken, from New York, from the Big Apple. We have Mohsin, medical doctor Mohsin from Bangladeshi from Texas. Shah Fitness, hello, my friend. From Malaysia. It's 6 a.m. in Malaysia. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Kursiniats from Waterloo, Iowa, USA. Janet, hello. I'm nervous about Argentina being able to penetrate Colombia's back line. Watching from Canada. We're going to talk about so much. We have Shaykh from Saudi Arabia. We have BC, as I was right, from California. Master Azar, sorry, BC from New York, and Master Azar from California, excuse me. A lively crowd, as always. Calvin, doing well, my friend. Thank you for joining us. How are you? Let's get to it. I mean, Argentina, Colombia. We spoke about it in the last video as well. That we were talking about kind of who we would not necessarily prefer, but maybe out of the two between Uruguay and Colombia, who would we like to maybe face? No disrespect to any team. I think both would have been very, very difficult and would be difficult. We can maybe talk a little bit about that and then jump into it all. Are you surprised that it was Colombia that got the win versus Uruguay?
I wasn't because of the way they've been playing this tournament. I think that we can say that Colombia has been the best team so far in the Copa America. I know we're Argentina. I think we're the favorites for the final. But the way they beat Panama in the quarterfinals, the way they were able to beat Uruguay even with one player less for 45 minutes, and the way they've been playing, I think that we can all agree that the best player in this tournament so far has been James Rodriguez. So we're gonna play a really good opponent. Again, I believe we are favorites. I believe that we can win this match, and especially if Argentina finds the game that Scaloni has been trying to put in this team in the World Cup, in the qualifiers for the World Cup. I think that we have, of course, most of the chances. But I'm not very surprised because they've been playing great this Copa America.
Yeah, no, Colombia, it's been, I mean, at least not necessarily just on paper, but really what we've watched, they've been probably the best team out of, in the Copa America. You look at the match versus Uruguay, not easy, as you mentioned, defending with the man down for over half of the match. That is absolutely not easy, especially against Uruguay of all teams. And looking at the chat, Paulo Miguel, thank you for joining us from Nigeria, 1108. BC expected Uruguay. Matias saying Uruguay was limp, almost like they played not to lose, but not seeking a win. Shafin is saying, had Darwin Nunez taken his chances in the first half against Colombia, it would have been a different story. Absolutely, I do kind of agree about that because I think he had two opportunities where he really should have scored. And talking about goal scorers, BC says Lautaro is due a goal. In my opinion, he is. Now, let's get into it. It's the, I mean, first ever final between Argentina and Colombia in the Copa America, which is really crazy to think, especially the amount of times in recent history that Argentina have made finals, not necessarily won, but just made it. Colombia have had some strong teams unable to make the final. First time in a while for them.
No, totally. Yeah, the only Copa America they won was in 2001 when they played that Copa America in Colombia. Argentina didn't go, and Colombia ended up winning that Copa America. We faced Colombia. And we're probably going to talk about that in the last Copa America, also in the last qualifiers. There have been some nice matchups there with them. But yeah, it's going to be the first time in the final. And let's say it's something new for them because even though this generation of soccer players of Colombia are incredible, they have players like James Rodriguez, Luis Diaz. Um, the thing is that they never really reach a final with this generation. And Argentina, in that way, I think we have a plus because we're used to it. We lost some, we won some, but we've been there so many times.
Yeah, Argentina definitely has the experience. 23 years, I suppose, 23 years since Colombia last taken part in a Copa America and won the only Copa America for them. We spoke about this off air, and we can maybe discuss it a little bit further on as we go. You mentioned something key, which is, it's the experience. Argentina has been there in the past. Argentina, I would like to think, know how to manage the game and manage the emotions. So the experience, the emotions that come with it all. I don't know how Colombia will react in the final. We saw after the final whistle versus Uruguay, rightfully so, they were very emotional in terms of just getting to the final itself. I don't know how they're going to be for the match on Sunday, but I think experience, I would have to give it to Argentina, but that doesn't mean that Argentina are necessarily going to win because of that.
You can never totally. And we saw it in James Rodriguez when they beat Uruguay, and he was crying and he was saying how this was his dream all his life. And as we just said, Colombia is not used to get to finals, so that's also why they might want to win this one because they don't know when they will play another one again.
Yeah, of course. It's a very, very good point as well. And let's not forget, I mean, Colombia in 2014, a very good team, did very well in the World Cup. And 2015, they didn't even make the finals. They did not make the finals just a year later. So you never know. Nothing in sports, let alone football, is guaranteed when it comes to a final. Looking at the chat, BC saying Colombia though has beaten Uruguay in the knockout stages of the Copa World Cup 5 out of 6 times in their history. That's an impressive statistic. Excuse me. Master Azar saying expect this to be very physical. I think so. I think it's going to be a very physical match. Let's see. Top G14. Hope Messi finally scores the Copa America final goal because it's his 5th Copa America final now, and you think actually by now he has already scored at least 1 or 2 in the finals, but he hasn't. Fingers crossed we get a Messi goal, and more importantly, an Argentina win. Let's see. BC, Colombia's only other finals were in 1975, where they were the host and they lost, and in 2001 when Argentina did not participate. There was a lot of controversy in that 2001 edition going into it, some teams pulling out, and kind of what happened there.
Yeah, no, I was actually reading, I think it was yesterday, about it, how it was supposed to be in Venezuela, then the CONMEBOL for some reason decided to be to the Copa America to happen in Colombia. And not only Argentina, there was another federation that didn't end up traveling. But yeah, it was full of controversy.
Yeah, there were a lot of controversy there. I believe it was due to security reasons. I believe that was one of the reasons why some teams did not participate. But that was in 2001. It's 2024. Colombia, credit to them, are in the final. We can maybe discuss a little bit about the more recent matches for Argentina. Between Argentina and Colombia. If I'm not mistaken, you might have this written down, Osvaldo. You might remember. Some people here might remember. If I'm not mistaken, Colombia's last loss ever was versus Argentina in the World Cup qualifier.
It was, yeah, in February 1st of 2022. I think here we have both teams that come from a really good winning streak. Yeah, we kind of lost it when we lost against Uruguay a couple of months ago. But before that, the time we lost was against Saudi Arabia. So there's 2 teams that are not used to losing. that match in the last couple of months. And yeah, that time was Argentina against Colombia. It was in Argentina. If I'm not, it wasn't in El Monumental. It was. Let me try to see
I
if I can find it. But Argentina won 1-0 with the goal of Lautaro Martinez.
Yeah, it was a 1-0 win. Lautaro, talking about Lautaro, I'll bring this comment up by Oladislav saying, a win in regular time, Lautaro, golden boot. But yeah, I mean, last time Colombia lost was versus, believe it or not, Argentina, as we just said. Matias is saying it'd be nice to get a revenge for that 5-0 routing, would it not? That was a very infamous defeat in Argentine football history back in the 90s, which
Yeah.
Colombia still celebrate.
Oh, totally. That's what I was gonna say. They still remembering us that match, which of course was hard for us. But in the truth is, it was just a World Cup qualifier game, and I think this is a way more important. It was also other different players from the ones that play today, because this was more than how many years ago was this? The 5-0. When was it? Do you remember?
Oh, it was 90. I want to say 93. I want to
Yeah.
say, was it 93 or 95? My memory's completely failing me right now, but I want to say 93.
What I mean is that
Yeah,
although this is gonna be something that is gonna be in the fans' head, it's not gonna
93.
be in any of the team's players, because yeah, it's just different players for those from those that play at that time.
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of the players probably were not even born for that 5-0 win for Colombia. But no, it's going to be it's going to be a physical match. It's always very difficult, playing against Colombia. It really, really is. I mean, if we talk about the last Copa America, Argentina versus Colombia in the semifinals, the last match we just talked about with Lautaro scoring 1-0, it's never an easy game for either team. And do you think, I'm going to ask everybody the question as well, and Osvaldo, I'll ask you the question too. Do you think maybe the Colombian players that were there in 2021 that are there now, do you think that semifinal from 3 years ago is still in the back of their minds maybe, and they want that revenge? Or do you think maybe they've forgotten it or put it on the side?
There is some sense of revenge from that match. Especially, I'm taking a look at the lineup. There's many players that repeat from those that play at that time. But I think that in the mind of the Colombian players, the main thing is about winning a Copa America and being in the history of the country. That's the main thing. I don't think they're more looking to get a revenge from Argentina. Rather than just do it for their country, for the colors.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And I would tend to agree with that as well. I mean, I would think maybe to a certain degree that match might be somewhere in their minds in terms of revenge. But I think overall, as you mentioned, it's a final now. You win, and I mean, these Colombian players technically have already made history for Colombia, right? Just by making the final itself. So that in and of itself is an achievement. But of course, winning it is a completely different thing.
When it might appear that image of the semifinals of 2021 in the Colombians player heads, maybe if there's penalty kicks
Yeah.
with Diego Martinez, and that's when I think Diego Martinez became to be Diego Martinez, no, for the first time. That was the first penalty kick shoot.
That was the big match where he became Dibu. That was it. And especially with that empty stadium, no crowd, and you heard him talking. I mean, I'll bring up there was the comment here earlier. Keanu Ruiz, throwback pass saying baila ahora, to I believe it was Jeremina. To Mina, we're just telling him, dance now, dance now. So, if it goes to penalty kicks, for sure it might be in the back of their minds. They might get some flashbacks. Who knows? But this is at the end of the day, it's a different match, right? What happened 3 years ago happened 3 years ago, and this is a very, very different game. And let's look at some of the comments. Yeah, Matias confirming it was 93 for sure. In the 5-0, we have Janet. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. The comments are not being brought up. I'm just reading them out loud. Janet saying this is not even the same Colombia team we beat with Messi's bloody ankle in the semifinals. Now, let's talk a little bit about, I'd be think we kind of have to talk about this, I believe. We'll begin with this, or maybe do you want to leave this towards the end, Osvaldo?
No, we can start with this for
We
sure.
can start with this. It's no secret, Angel Di Maria plays his last ever match with the Argentina national team, the Copa America final. Personally, I remember watching him in the youth when the first time I ever watched Di Maria, like actually ever watched him, was in 2007 live. I was at the stadium. It was the Under-20 World Cup in Canada. It was in Ottawa, Argentina versus North Korea. And it was Aguero that scored the free kick, and Di Maria played. And then I remember his first match with the national team in, I want to say 2008, and I remember it being versus Paraguay when Basile was the coach. Watching him go from 2008 to before that, obviously scoring in the Olympic in the gold final, to everything he's done now, how important he is. He's always been, Batman and Robin. He's been Messi's Robin. He's been that guy that we need, and an incredible career, truly an incredible career.
For sure. And right now it's 6:20 p.m. in Miami, if I'm not mistaken, at 7, so in 40 minutes. Argentina is going to start their last practice before the final. And it's probably going to be Di Maria's last practice with the national team. It's interesting to know what will happen in his mind. I know that he's a very emotional person. Of course, we saw it when he won the Copa America, when he won the World Cup. Of course, we love him, but we'll see how that goes through his mind, especially in these moments in the match, in the moments before the final. And then we're gonna talk about the rumor starting 11, but a rumor said that he might start, and that's incredible because we all know the importance of Di Maria in finals. You know that I have here a statistic of Di Maria in finals, not only with Argentina but also with the clubs, and he scored 13 goals in finals with PSG, with Benfica, with the national team, even with Real Madrid. 13 goals in finals. That's a number that I don't know how many players have that.
No, not many do. Not many do. He's the ultimate big game player for Argentina. 2008, he was there. He scored in the final on this day. Ironically enough, on this day 10 years ago, he missed that World Cup final, and we know what happened there. And then you look at the Copa America in 2021. You look at what he did in the World Cup. You look at what he did in the Finalissima. I've said it before, I'll say it again, the ultimate big game player, the biggest big game player that there is, in my opinion, at least of this generation, to be honest. Not just the goals, but his overall play, what he brings, he does so well. And at his age now, at 36, knowing it's his last match, it's a little bit emotional. I won't lie. And you mentioned Di Maria is an emotional person as well, and you have to wonder how much of those emotions come into play. But no matter what happens, he goes down as, in my opinion, a top 5, maybe even top 3, but at least top 5 best Argentine player of all time, in my opinion.
No, for sure.
Let's look at some of the comments here. See what everybody is saying. I'm gonna try. We're trying. Jose saying, "Pain, nobody can replace Di Maria." Janet talking about Messi. I'm not even gonna bring that comment up. We'd rather not think about that right now. Keanu, yes, it's 6:20 right now in Miami. MMH, one of the most decorated soldiers of Argentina ever. Yeah, that's a very, very good description. BC says, I'd bring Di Maria off the bench against tired legs in the second half. So BC would not start Di Maria, but he would bring him on as a substitute. Yeah. Edwin, sorry, I'm just going to bring this up here. Edwin from Fiji Islands. Thank you for joining us, Edwin. Thank you very, very much.
Scaloni was saying a little bit in the press conference how, he knows that it's Di Maria's last game with the national team, but that is not gonna be in his head when he puts the starting 11 for Argentina. Although he said that Di Maria might be a starter, but and that's something that is good, and that's how it should happen. That's why he's not starting also Otamendi because he thinks Lisandro Martinez is playing better, and that's what a coach should do. Although it's gonna be a very emotional, and it might be the last game for Di Maria, Otamendi, he has to think as if none of those things are happening, and try to put the best starting 11.
Yeah, and that's very true. That's very true. You have to wonder, does Scaloni give in and play Di Maria or start Di Maria considering it's his last match for Argentina, or do you bring him on as a substitute instead? We're gonna see. We're gonna see. Pablo Miguel saying El Fideo, clutch player, clutch in every sense of the word, my friend, in every sense of the word. Keanu Ruiz, by the way, I do love that name. Saying the way he was able to take a bench role and still contribute in 2021 was incredible. Then going back to being a starter in 2022, so impressive. Master Azar, me and you both, my friend, and I think everybody here as well. I truly think so. We're getting some comments in terms of the starting 11 and who should start and all that stuff. So I believe it's only fair we get into it. Osvaldo, Montiel, Cuti, Lisandro, and Tagliafico, the back line.
Yeah, per reports, this should be the lineup. Although journalists say that we should wait for the practice that is going to start in around half an hour, and there's when Scaloni is going to define the team. But yeah, it would be Montiel in place of Molina. I think that's a right decision. I didn't like Molina's Copa America, to be honest. And Montiel the other day, he did well. He did a good job. And then the other three are logical, more taking into consideration that Acuna is coming back from an injury. So it's kind of a logical defense.
Yeah, I think this makes the most sense. And I do agree with you as well. I don't know what everybody in the chat thinks. I don't think Molina's had a great Copa America. I think we've kind of seen the opposite of the World Cup, where I thought Molina was tremendous. Obviously, Montiel ended up scoring the winning penalty, but I thought Molina was tremendous in that World Cup. And this time, I think maybe it's the opposite. Molina's maybe not as good as Montiel this time around. I'm all for that back line. I'm all for Tagliafico. You have to feel for Tagliafico because he's played most of the matches at this point, and you got to wonder maybe how tired he is. If he is tired, I don't know. But he's had a great Copa America. I truly think Tagliafico is very underrated, and he's had a very, very good Copa America.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you something though. Although this is the most rumored defense, and then we're gonna talk about the midfield. That the three names are the ones that everyone is talking about, and the same thing in attack. I think that Scaloni has something prepared, like he always has something prepared for this kind of matches. I wouldn't be surprised if something that was talked a little bit about during the week, that is maybe trying a back five with Otamendi. And I read one of the comments now. I don't know if you're able to find it, but about James Rodriguez crossings and how to defend those ones that have been very dangerous for Colombia, and maybe having another defender who is good in the air can be really good. Because Lisandro Martinez is really good in the air, but he is a little bit short. Then you have Romero, who is incredible, but then Tagliafico and Montiel are more or less, if you see a midfield, are all short players. Instead of the ball is kind of tall, but he's not a really good person that heads the ball away. And then Messi, Alvarez, and Di Maria. So I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to start maybe with five in the back.
That would be, yeah. I mean, now that you mention it, and now that we're kind of talking about it, and I'm reading the comments as well, it wouldn't surprise me, no. And because we've seen Scaloni adjust depending on the opponent. The biggest example and best example is the Netherlands in the quarterfinals. So maybe you do that. Maybe you go with the back line of five. Coach Kogan saying Argentina, as you mentioned, this is the comment I think you were talking about, Osvaldo. Argentina needs to defend well against crosses from James. Matias saying it as well. Otamendi may not be a bad call. Colombia scored many from set plays. Otamendi very good at reading positions. Mohsin talking about you can't start all short defenders against Colombia, most dangerous team on set pieces. Calvin agreeing as well. Asif talking about maybe Lucas Martinez Cuarta at right back, and Montiel's second half, if the match goes to penalties, Montiel cannot do 120 minutes. Paro Miguel, Molina should start ahead of Molina. Maybe Montiel ahead of Molina or Molina ahead of Montiel. I don't know.
That's funny. But yeah,
there you
Montiel
go, Montiel.
is also had a knock in the last game, and he's kind of recovering from that. He should be fine, but it's true that he doesn't arrive to the match 100%.
Yeah, no. He's not 100, or he wasn't, I guess, 100% in the last one. You'd like to think he would be now. Janet talking about how it's good we have an extra day from Colombia, and when you look at the match Argentina had versus Canada, and then you compare it to the match that Colombia had versus Uruguay, it's a very different kinds of matches. So having that extra day, I believe would help.
Yeah, and they basically had to run for 45 minutes with one player less.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something positive.
Something positive for sure. MMH, all the Colombian set piece goals was poorly defended. To be honest, I don't think they will score like that against us. BC says Colombia are very reliant on set pieces to score. Calvin, and then they're strong on set pieces. Rodriguez delivery is very dangerous. Asif, Lisandro, and Kuti have only conceded one goal all tournament. Hopefully it remains that way. Hopefully. And there was a question here. We're going to talk a little bit about Uruguay, of course, later on in just a little bit. And a last comment from Calvin. Their strong set pieces. Rodriguez delivery is very dangerous. Now, that was the back line. We talk about the midfield. And this has been certainly a talking point throughout the entire Copa America for Argentina. Enzo Fernandez, Alexis McAllister, Rodrigo de Paul in midfield. Do you think it's what we get? Are you happy with this, Osvaldo? And of course, everybody in the chat, let us know, please.
Yes, I think I'm happy, especially after Enzo's last game. And I think that De Paul and McAllister is one of those, or both of them, are those players that we know that they're going to start every important game. I think that in Argentina, it's through the last couple of months, it's been Dibu Martinez, Cuti Romero, McAllister, De Paul, and Messi. Those five have been the ones that are always starting, they are important. And yes, in the Enzo has maybe been out a couple of times in his place, Paredes or Lo Celso. But based on last game, Enzo, I think he should start. It's also going to be interesting if he plays as a defensive midfielder, how he played in the World Cup, or how he plays in Chelsea, a little bit higher on the field, and McAllister goes back.
Yeah, I think this could be what we get in midfield. I thought Enzo played well versus Canada, better than he did versus Ecuador, and that was probably his best match of the Copa America, if I'm being honest, versus Canada in the semifinals. Do you think, because I'm reading some of the chat, and Matias saying Paredes, please. You personally, Osvaldo, would you start Paredes over Enzo or Enzo over Paredes?
It's a tough one. I think that Enzo can be better in when it comes to play higher in the field. Paredes is very organized and can make good passes, but he likes to play a lot of the balls to the side, and that's good for some moments of the matches. But when it comes to put the ball in dangerous spots with dangerous passes, I think Enzo does a better job. If we have Enzo at his best level, as he was in the World Cup, I would say Enzo Fernandez, over Paredes.
Yeah. That would make sense. I'd be happy with either or. I think Paredes has done well at this Copa America whenever he has played. So either way, I think we'll be good. Let's look at what Varun, welcome, my friend. Thank you for joining us. Matias saying Paredes, please. Sheikh saying only if Enzo plays deep and McAllister plays up. Corsinia, it's going a little bit different, saying maybe Palacios should get some minutes. I feel like Palacios and Guido Rodriguez are like the two forgotten midfielders.
Yes, and let me ask you this, Roy. Would you like to see any, like Palacios, Guido Rodriguez, Lo Celso, maybe entering at some moment in the second half? Who would you like to be the first substitution in that midfield?
Honestly, I would like to see Palacios. I think he's been great I think it was great for Bayer Leverkusen. I thought he's had a decent Copa America. I really do, especially in the few minutes he's gotten. If you put in Guido, you're going fully defensive, in my opinion. Like you're taking out a creative player in midfield when you go with Guido. Lo Celso, I have not been impressed at this Copa America, if I'm being honest. I know he's been okay. He's had some moments. Personally, I think he's nowhere near his best for whatever reason. Out of those three, I would go with Palacios, but I think out of those three, I think Scaloni would actually go with Lo Celso over.
Yeah, I agree, but you know that we'll talk about this in other lives. How Scaloni chooses the players a lot based on the opponent. And imagine we're suffering a little bit the crosses of Colombia with James Rodriguez. A player as tall as Guido Rodriguez can be a solution in the box.
That is very true. That's a valid point. That's a valid argument as well. I think it's going to depend, as you mentioned. Scaloni does adjust depending on the opponent, and I think it's going to depend on how the game is going, right? If you want control in midfield, if you want a more combative player in midfield, maybe, who knows? Maybe we go to a 4-4-2. Maybe if it's a 5-3-2, he changes it up. We don't know, right? I think it's going to depend for sure. For sure. Let's look at some of the comments. Chandra from London, thank you for joining us. Thank you very, very much for joining us. MMH is saying definitely Enzo, even he is not same level as World Cup, simply because he filters the passes more quickly than Paredes. TGL saying Scaloni has gotten it right when it counts. Matias is saying Lo Celso. Let's see what else we have. Shah Fitness is saying Lo Celso lacks intensity and aggressiveness in midfield. Calvin talking, saying our biggest problem has been the midfield. Have not found them to click. It will be vital to get it right because Rodriguez will take advantage if we play sloppy and not with the intensity like we've seen. Has not. Thank you. Saying Enzo after the last game, Enzo is on a different level to Paredes, both at their best. Chandra saying, there you go. Key is midfield. If our midfield is dynamic and give 100%, we have very good chances. And you know what? I'm gonna bring this question up. A little bit different, but what about Nico? Where do we slot him? He was great so far. Nicolas Gonzalez. Would you place him maybe in a more like left midfield if you were to play him, Osvaldo, or would you leave him more towards like the left wing for Nico Gonzalez?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would definitely put him at some point during the match, not as a starter because I like that 4-3-3, and then we're gonna talk about the players in attack. And Di Maria has to play the final as a starter, but Nico Gonzalez can play almost anywhere in the left side, even here as a left back, and it will depend on how the match is going. Again, take into consideration the crosses of James Rodriguez. I know we've been talking a lot about that, but they've been really dangerous this Copa America, and it's something Scaloni is taking into consideration for sure. Another player who can jump and be good defending and attacking crosses,
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. I mean, talking about Nico Gonzalez, we'll talk a little bit about him later on. But yeah, I would prefer more up front. I would personally maybe not start him, but he's someone else that's good in the air as well, right? He's certainly good. We're talking a lot about Rodriguez, and we're getting some comments about Rodriguez. Should somebody mark him? Should we man mark him? I'm going to bring this comment on from MMH. You guys forgot how McAllister pocketed Griezmann at the World Cup, same way he will do with James Rodriguez. I don't know. Hopefully. I obviously would not say no, hopefully. But, I think it's going to be the job from the entire midfield. I think De Paul is going to have to be at his best, of course. He's going to have to track back. Alexis is going to have to do some defensive work. And whether that's Enzo or Paredes or whoever will certainly have to help as well. I think it's going to be a collective effort, a team effort. I think so.
Yeah, I agree. A very physical one too.
Oh yes, as it always is. Now that leaves us with one more position in the team, and that is up front. And we are, of course, going to talk about Lionel Messi, Julian Alvarez, and Angel Di Maria in attack. I think this would have to be the most, I'll say, obvious maybe of starts, unless, of course, Scaloni decides to go with Nico Gonzalez. I don't think Garnacho is going to start. I think it's going to be probably these three. What do you think, Osvaldo?
No, I agree. I think that even though it's logical, if you tell someone that doesn't really follow the national team and you tell him that Lautaro Martinez is the goal scorer, playing maybe even less than Julian Alvarez. Lautaro Martinez scored in the last match against Colombia and in the match against Colombia in the Copa America. He wouldn't believe it. But it is logical because Julian in that attack with Di Maria and Messi, who are both 36, 37, um, they both need some help in defending, in starting the defense from the attack. And Julian Alvarez can do that. He can run the defenders, the midfielders. He can just run and run and run. And he's really good with the ball. He was able to score against Canada, and I think that it is the most logical.
Yeah, I think so. I know when we spoke about this, I believe it was in the last video, I said if Argentina plays Uruguay, I think I said if Argentina plays Uruguay, I would start Julian, and if Argentina plays Colombia, I would start Lautaro. The more I think about it, I don't know. I feel like I would go more for Julian right now over Lautaro. As crazy as that sounds, I know Lautaro's sitting on 4 goals at the Copa America and Julian on 2. I would probably go with Julian. I think so. I'm looking at some of the comments. Matias is saying a 4-4-2 with Di Maria as a super sub. I don't think we'll get the 4-4-2. I don't know. This is going to be an interesting one. Do you think we might get that 4-4-2? Or
I don't see it because in that 4-4-2 you would expect Messi and Julian Alvarez and maybe Nico Gonzalez as a left midfielder, and I don't think Di Maria is not going to start. If there's a play that has to start in a final for Argentina, it has to be Di Maria. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a surprise from Scaloni because he's done it before. But maybe at some point of the match. At some point of the match, for sure. I don't think that even if the match goes to 120 minutes with extra time, maybe Di Maria would be subbed off. And I think we also have to think about that because Scaloni is not a manager that likes to make a lot of changes during the game. We saw it in the final against France when the substitutions he most did it when the match was almost over. And sometimes I even criticize him a little bit because of that, especially after the 2-2. But I think that if this is going to be a really, really physical game, and we're talking about so many positions like the center forward, like Lautaro Martinez and Julian Alvarez, either one could start. I would maybe put Julian for the first 60 minutes, then put Lautaro to continue running and doing the effort because it's going to be a really, really physical game.
It's going to be a very physical game. Yeah, it's this and Ecuador are probably going to be the 2 most physical matches for Argentina. I know the match versus Chile was very rough as well, but this is going to be a tough one. This will absolutely be a tough one. Colombia is going to try and play their game. They're going to try and disrupt Argentina. And we're going to need everybody in this one. I think Julian plays. I think Lautaro plays. Di Maria plays. Nico Gonzalez plays. I think everybody's going to play, whether this goes 90 minutes or this goes 120 minutes. I think we're going to see probably Argentina's entire front line. I don't know if we'll get Garnacho, but I think those players, the ones that I named, for sure will be playing. I think that's the obvious answer there. Let's see here. Vladislav saying Alvarez is simply better with Messi due to his motor and high press. Let him run his socks off and then put on Lautaro. Paulo Miguel is saying Alvarez should start. Asif talking about Nico and Lautaro will come on as substitutes most likely. Chandra talking and saying Di Maria and Alvarez should start. Then Chef talking about Lautaro. Problem is Lautaro doesn't run. He does. I think Lautaro does, but when you compare him to Julian, maybe not as much. I don't think as much as him. And let's see, Jose 369 saying with extra time, if it goes there, changes everything. Yes. And Calvin saying final is most difficult match. It will be really physical and intensity. We will need everyone to be at it from minute 1. We have a squad for a reason. Everyone is important. I do agree with that for sure. I'm going to agree, and I'm going to say I think this is what we get up front to start anyways versus Colombia. Now we have a couple of things to get to. I mean, one of the things we were just kind of talking about, this match is going to have, I believe it's a 20 or 25 minutes for the halftime.
Yeah, I was listening both things, either 20 or 25, because well, Shakira is gonna be the artist in the halftime, a Colombian, which of course I'm not against it. It was, but it's just interesting that the halftime is gonna be either 20 or 25. I don't know how that would affect the players, if they're gonna try to do some movements throughout the halftime, because 20-25 minutes can be a lot. It's gonna be interesting for sure.
Yeah, the recovery there, and I think, some people might think of it, oh, well, it's better for the players to have 20, 25 minutes rather than only 15. But 20, 25, your body starts to maybe cool down a little bit, so that could be I'm not saying a big factor. These guys are professionals, but it's going to be a little bit different to have 20 or 25 minutes rather than 15 minutes, so to speak. And one of the things we mentioned as well is, if in case of a draw, this does go to extra time. This would not go straight to penalty kicks. This goes straight. We would have extra time here.
Yes.
All right. Now, the other thing, let's get to this. Daniel Munoz and Ricardo Rios, not playing for Colombia. For some reason, I thought Rios was a little bit fit, but I guess not. I suppose not.
What I read was that Daniel Munoz, well, of course, he was suspended because of what happened in the match against Uruguay, that red card. But Richard Rios, based on what I've been reading, he's injured and he wouldn't at least start for Colombia, which he has been a really good players, both of them for Colombia this Copa America. So of course, I think Daniel Munoz will be replaced by Arias, who is a good player who has played in Atletico Madrid, and of course they have good players, but two kind of good news for Argentina, you would say.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's I think it's going to be they could be a big miss for Colombia. Definitely, they've been solid for them. They've been one of their best players, some of the best players, along with James. It's going to be a miss for them. Obviously, how they adjust remains to be seen. What ends up happening there. I'll take a look at some of the comments here. MMH saying Rios playing apparently. Vladislav saying Rios has been really good. We'll see. Look, the Rio news, because we're getting mixed news, right? But the Rio news could be mind games. We don't know. It could be mind games coming out of the Colombia camp saying he's fit, and ultimately he's not, or the opposite. He's not fit and he is fit, or maybe he is fit.
Yeah. What's for sure that he's not 100%.
No. That I think is fair to say. I think that's fair to say. He's not 100% on that. Now, actually, I guess a bit of a question here. This is an interesting take, interesting question regarding a little bit kind of maybe how Colombia might have to adjust. Would you start Di Maria on the left or on the right if you were to start him?
It's a good question. Well, last time he started in the right. In this case, and based on this comment, I think I would start him in the left, because Munoz is not gonna be there. Then you can have Messi on the right and Julian Alvarez on top in the center, and I would start him there, especially how we did against France in the World Cup.
No, excuse me. Sorry, I'm just
Don't worry.
charge the laptop here.
Don't worry.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
No, I was gonna say I would personally start him on the left. If I'm being honest, I would start him on the left there. Matias is adamant, absolutely left. I think, and the good thing about Di Maria obviously is he can play on both wings. Versus Canada, he was predominantly on the right side. I want to say, at least for much of the match, he was on the right side. And you would think, of course, if Nicolas Gonzalez comes in, he'll be on the left. But yeah, I would probably go for Di Maria on the left. I agree. All right. Now, there has been some talk, and something we've spoken about a little bit, that got taken to the maximum by Uruguay's coach, Marcelo Bielsa. His comments, I don't know how many of you guys saw it, but his comments about the Copa America, the organization, the security, kind of everything, did not put CONMEBOL in a great light. And this happened yesterday.
Yes. No, and Scaloni supported him in the last press conference just a couple of hours ago. Uh, and yeah, of course, he was very upset after the game against Uruguay after that loss. But most of what he said, he was right in the way of the field, the state of the pitch is not really great. Then even this 25-minute halftime show, it's very weird. There's some weird things in this Copa America. We know that the World Cup of Clubs in the next year is also going to be here in the United States than the World Cup. So it's good that at least these things are talked about, especially by the main characters, by the protagonists, like the coaches of good national teams, of really like Uruguay, Argentina, so that they take it into consideration in the next couple of events.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'll say this: if it was anybody else saying it, not a manager, but somebody in the media, I don't think it would have bothered them too much. But the fact that Bielsa said this at a press conference, and then, as you mentioned, Osvaldo, Scaloni supporting Bielsa in his comments, it has to be said. It's, yes, obviously it's a tournament that Argentina wants to win, and we want Argentina to win, and everybody wants to win. But the organization itself, the pitches. I mean, we've been talking about the pitches. Us, everybody in the chat on MundoAlbiceleste.com, everyone, everywhere has been talking about how bad these pitches are, and this is horrible. And I don't know what's going on. I was having a conversation with someone today in regards to the Copa America and the Euros, and they were telling me how the Euros this year have been horrible. He told me, he said, Roy, the Copa America has been so much better than the Euros. The Euros have been horrible. But the problem with the Copa America has been the pitches. There's, both tournaments have had significant flaws, and this is an embarrassment. It's greed, I guess which is the word you mentioned, I think, Osvaldo, or somebody mentioned in the chat. It's greed. We're gonna see what happens in 2026 for the World Cup in the United States, because it's not pretty.
And it's very weird because the United States, if there's something that they usually have, or at least that's what I think, it's organization. They might not have a football culture. I mean, they call it soccer, and that's why sometimes I say it's soccer instead of football, because I've been living here for almost 3 years and a half. Um, but in organization, they've been always one level ahead. And for some reason, they haven't done a good job in this Copa America. Look, there's a radio show that I listen to a lot. It's called Par en la Mano. Maybe you heard about it. Um, and well, they had the CONMEBOL credentials and everything to go as a media to one of the games, the one in New York. It was the one, not the semifinals, the one against Chile, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The truth is that they went to the security guy. The security guy didn't even know what was CONMEBOL. He thought that the credentials were fake. They missed the first half of the game. Just things like that. Like the security guy of the stadium doesn't know what's the CONMEBOL. That's something very, very strange of an organization. Even as I think someone was reading, there's a lot of promotion maybe about the Euros and stuff, but here in America, in the United States, we haven't been much promotion of the Copa America. Even look, I'll tell you this: when I went to Atlanta for the first game, I remember walking in the airport. We arrived the same day of the Copa America, with only like 10 hours for the first match, and in the airport there was a big ad about like there was those countdown ads that tells you the minutes, hours, and days towards the event, and instead of that being about the Copa America, which was that day starting in that city, they were talking about the World Cup. I don't know, just little things like that. That is like, hey, you're having an incredible event here, and you would ask the Uber driver, and they wouldn't even know about
What's
it.
going
And
on?
yeah, we're used to it in the United States because of the culture, but these things of organization are just very weird.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. And so I'm just going to side comment a big thank you from Asif Mahmoud. 10-pound donation. Thank you, my friend. It's much appreciated. Asif saying, I'm still traumatized from those 6 finals defeats from 2004 to 2016. Hopefully, this group aren't used to losing finals, so they will not be mentally affected by the past, despite being champions. I'm still nervous. This is something that I've kind of thought about in my mind is, let's say Argentina would not have won 2021. That would have, I think, crushed everybody even more. 2022 Finalissima obviously would not have happened. The World Cup probably would not have happened. So that was a big, big turning point. I'm totally with you, Asif. I still think about those finals lost, whether it's 2004, or 2007, or 14, or 15, or 16, whatever it might be. And it's just bad. You know, it really has scarred us. It scarred me for life. And I don't know about you as well, though. It's been traumatizing.
It did, yeah, and he's right. But it's also true that, at least for me, when I see again those images of Götze scoring the goal in 2014 and the Copa America with Chile, at least it's not as hard as when that happened before we won everything that we just won in the last couple of years. It hurts a little bit less. Of course, it still hurts,
Yes,
but a little bit less.
Yeah, it's almost like those finals that we did win. It's like it softened the blow a little bit, but of course, it still definitely hurts. Definitely hurts. And Asif Mahmoud, thank you once more for that, my friend. Thank you for donating to Mundo Albiceleste. Going back to the lack of preparation, and I'll bring Calvin's comment up saying, this shows no preparation there. Promotion has been very poor. I mean, you mentioned it yourself, Osvaldo, at the airport and the countdown and everything. It's an odd one. It feels like when I was in Miami, when I was in Florida for the match that we went to versus Peru, before the match, after the match, we're walking and we saw a lot of people with Argentina shirts, especially after the match, like all around Miami, everywhere. So it's like people that live there or people that are there know what's going on, but it's almost as if, like you mentioned, the cab drivers or people at the airport or whatever it might be, it's like they're oblivious. They don't know what's going on. And I don't know if it's because football or soccer, I don't know if it's like the number 2, 3, 4 sport in the country. I don't know, but it's got to change. It has to change because it hasn't been pretty when it comes to the preparation. And let's, oh my gosh, Matthias, I'm gonna bring this up really quickly, my friend. I'm just gonna take it off, not because I don't like you, it's because it still hurts. But yeah, those finals, it hurt massively. But Samuel is saying, do you think this will be Messi's last game for Argentina? I think no. Osvaldo, I don't know about you.
I want to think that no. What I think is that he doesn't know yet, and he likes to take it month after month, and depending how he feels now that he's in Inter Miami, I don't think he has that in mind now. You never know. Maybe it is, but I don't think he will make the decision after the game. It's not like Di Maria that he already has that decision. He announced it.
Yeah. The other thing as well is, I mean, knock on wood, hopefully it isn't, but let's say for whatever reason Messi decides it is, I don't think he would announce it after the game. He would be taking away from Di Maria's moment, so to speak, whatever it might be. So I don't think so.
That's true.
Yeah. Vladislav, Messi will play as long as his body allows him to. Yes, he did say that actually. Calvin Field, especially odds since the U.S. is hosting the World Cup, opportunity thrown away. And let's see what else we got. I think that is about it. I'm going to mention this. Calvin, final is very nervous. It's the biggest match. How I'm going to ask everybody, I'll ask you, Osvaldo, and I guess we could start closing things up. 2021, we won't count the Finalissima, or we could if you want to, but 2021, then we have the Finalissima, then you have the World Cup, and this one. Where does this rank in terms of how nervous you are in comparison to the other finals? And I'm asking everybody as well in the chat. For me, I want to say 2022 is up there as maybe the number one nervousness, followed by 2021, the Copa America. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, no, I would say that is the one that we should be at least less nervous, because 2021, it was again another final, again that nervousness of maybe not winning it in Brazil against Brazil. Then the final of the World Cup. I think maybe even there, that was the time that I was uh, the most nervous. And this one, of course, is a final. We want to win it, but in reality, if we don't, um, nothing really happens. Of course, we want to win it. We're Argentina. Uh, we believe that. I mean, we have, if I'm not mistaken, 15 Copa Americas.
15
Yes, against,
tied all time with the most with
yeah,
Uruguay.
against Colombia that only has one. We need to win. We need to take what they want. That's the way I think we even see the Paul approaching it when he enters to the field, and that's the way that we should approach it. But in terms of nervousness and value, maybe it's the least important of those two that we won already.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that, at least when it comes to nerves. But I'll say this: when Argentina versus Ecuador, when Ecuador tied the match at 1-1, and then they really started pushing, right? From that moment on until the end of the penalty kicks, I was as nervous as I had been in a very long time. Very, like, the nerves are still there. As confident as we might be, and yes, maybe a little bit less nervous than other matches. The second I feel like, there's something, Argentina's in danger, something's going on, whatever it might be, the nerves really kick in, and they kick in at an all-time high.
Yeah.
So going into it, I'm maybe not as nervous, but I'm still very nervous.
No, and it has to do with Argentina. We don't want to lose what we already have.
Yeah,
Like Spain, they won the Euros in 28,
2008.
2008 is what I try to say. In 2010 they won the World Cup. In 2012 they won the Euros, and you just don't want the streak to end. Right now,
No.
I think that we would all agree that in the last 3 years we've been the best team in the world, and we just don't want to lose that. And we want to keep it. We want to, because we know how much we suffer when we were not winning, and now we got used to this. That of course one day it will end, but we just don't want it to be now.
No, exactly. That's a very, very well said. It's a good way of putting it. It's nerves. We don't want it to end. Like, yes, we won the last Copa America. Yes, we won the Finalissima. Yes, we won the last World Cup. But winning another Copa America, especially this generation, but like winning another Copa America, it's I don't know. It's a good feeling. It's a great feeling, actually. And something that you mentioned, and just to add a little bit to it, I don't know how many people are actually aware of this. Argentina, over 5 years, in the last 5 years, so in the last half a decade, maybe that will put things into perspective. In the last half decade, Argentina have lost 2 matches: Saudi Arabia and Uruguay. That, put that into perspective. That shows you what this team has accomplished and is accomplishing,
For sure.
which, in my opinion, is ridiculous. Because I don't even think Spain, when they were at their peak, I don't even think Spain had that good of a record. I mean,
No, yeah, it's incredible, and I think that the players that we have are not willing to lose that streak now.
no,
If you see how they go and play the games, uh, they just don't want to. As much as we don't want this to end, they don't want it to
they,
either, and they want
yeah,
to go and play either Spain or England in the Finalissima and win again, and they just don't want this to be over.
yeah, no, same. Let's look at what some of the comments here. We got a lot of comments, and I like this. So we got BC saying, "I am confident." All right, I am confident. Sheikh saying last. Okay, so last in terms of nerves. Master Azar saying, "I rank this one as the least one. I'm nervous." Rian saying, "I agree with Osvaldo." Calvin, just as nervous, especially when it's so close. I think I side with you more, Calvin, for sure. Matthias, I'm calm here. We have nothing to prove, really. Win or lose, we made another final. Yes, we may have to work a few things out, but we are still in gear, boys. 2018, I think we were, I think where we were in 2018, that's a lifetime ago almost. 2022, 2021, 2024, and the Finalissima. Okay. In terms of nerves, let's see what else we got here. Varun saying, "I'm actually nervous because Colombia will make it physical, no injuries. heal 100% in a matter of weeks. Not to mention we're not at our very best. Messi is not at his best, but Messi is Messi, my friend. Messi is Messi. Shah Fitness, we should take this opportunity to win this 2024 Copa America. Yes, I agree. The nerves is always there when Argentina plays in a major competition. Okay, all right. I like that. I like the confidence. I absolutely like the confidence. And Vladislav saying they will die on that pitch to win that match. And I agree. I agree. Norman, thank you for joining us, my friend. Hey guys, so glad to catch you live finally. Having watched all the games, the team seemed a bit tired and lacked determination, contrary to the World Cup and last Copa. Do you have the same impression? You know, it's something I think we've spoken about throughout the last couple of videos. I don't know if it's determination or anything like that. I think it's all still there. The hunger is there. The determination is there. I just personally don't think Argentina have ever had to get out of first gear. You know, I don't know. Whatever it might be, it could be rest, could be smart, but Argentina are sharp. They have the experience, and they know when to really get going.
I agree. I think that also a big difference from the Copa America, from the World Cup that we won. This is gonna be really the match that we're gonna feel the most the nervousness. In the World Cup, we had really good rivals like the Netherlands. Even from the group stage, since we lost against Saudi Arabia, we were very nervous every single match. I'm talking about ourselves and also the players mainly. In that Copa America, we had to play Colombia in the semifinals. In this one, we had an easy path, probably the easiest path that Argentina has had in a long time. And the biggest game is gonna be the final for sure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And then actually, funny enough, that's something I was thinking about earlier. When you compare it to 2021, the opening match in 2021 was versus Chile, right? The last team that we faced in 2019 in the third place match, that was a draw. And then our second match was versus Uruguay, and that was a win. Guido Rodriguez scoring. Third one was Bolivia. And then we had Ecuador in the quarters, Colombia in the semis, Brazil in the final. That was a difficult, very, very, very difficult road to the final. And nobody said anything about that. Like non-Argentina fans didn't say anything. When it comes to this one, they talk about Argentina's easy road to the final, which sure on paper is easier, but Argentina's still, in my opinion, gotten sharper as the tournament has gone on. In my opinion. All right. On that note, Osvaldo, any final thoughts? Anything before we close things up?
No, I just want to say that I hope that Argentina plays tomorrow, plays some good football. I think we saw that against Brazil in the final of 2021. We saw that against France in 2022. We should approach it the same way. I don't want to be sound very confident of saying it, but we're the best team in the world, and we play better football than most of the teams, if it's not all the teams, because we already show it. It's not that I'm just saying it. We show it in the last couple of years. We just need to go and do the same thing.
Yeah, I would go out and play our game, you know.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I don't think it's confidence. No matter what happens tomorrow, I truly mean this. No matter what happens tomorrow, I think Argentina are the best team in the world, and we've shown it. Right, one game, whether you win or lose, is not going to determine that, in my opinion. And I think it's shown over time that Argentina are the best. A question here from Keanu: is there going to be a live after the game? I want to say yes. I just don't know what time. We just don't know what time when it comes to that, but we will be live. Thank you to everybody as well. Janet, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Calvin, thank you. Norman, thank you as well. Keanu, everybody. Asif, thank you so much to everybody for joining us. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notifications button to be the first person notified as soon as a new video drops. My name is Roy Nemer of Mundo Albiceleste.com. I'm joined by Osvaldo Godoy of Mundo Albiceleste.com. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Until next time, take care, everybody. Bye.